I'm now 39. I started playing Sinterklaas when I was 18, so that's 20 years. When I started it 20 years ago, we went, the Zwarte Piet went with completely blackface as well then, because we were performing for children of friends and we didn't want to recognize them. But we were not questioning it. It's only like the last 10, 15 years that we really start questioning it, because it was also everybody in the news and on social media. And we started to think about it and discuss with it, and then realize, oh my God, that's offensive. And we never realized it. That's an important side note. And we never realized it, but now we realize. And that's why I can relate with both parties. I also can relate with my friend, and I said, like, okay, even now, 2023, that was last year, you're still not realizing he's now where I was 15 years before, and he's still not realizing, okay, he needs more time.
Why is Dutch Blackface a holiday tradition? Because I wouldn't have known anything about it at all, unless I have a cousin that lives in Belgium, and his sisters went to visit him for Christmas, and so they're like bebopping around the small town because they live in Flanders, the Flemish area, and they're seeing all these dolls. These black dolls and these people like in blackface, white people in blackface dressed up, and they're just like, what is this shit? And so it was just like really, really bizarre to them to see this, because you wouldn't be caught dead doing that here in the United States.
There will be a riot for sure.
No, I mean,
depending on where you are.
Well, I mean, but why? And so it was a whole, like, she was just totally like dumbfounded that this was something that they did every year, and that her brother's son had this Black Pete, Zwarte Piet doll, and she's like, he's gonna get his ass kicked, if he goes to the United States with this fucking
did
doll.
The doll look the same?
It looks this. I mean, so they were like, "What is it?" And they're like, "We know. It's a tradition. We're gonna tell him."
Oh, geez.
But so it brought the question to my mind. First of all, what is this tradition of Black Pete or Zwarte Piet? What is it?
But to take you back to the history, let's put it there. So very simply put, it's a holiday tradition. It's called Black Pete or Zwarte Piet, right? That's known in the Netherlands primarily. But in this case, Paul, we were speaking on Belgium, right? Or excuse me, Brussels.
So just that whole region, because they're right next door to each other. Yeah.
But it's a holiday tradition dating back to the 19th century that depicts a helper of Saint Nicholas or Saint Nicholas, right? Or Nicholas, dressed in blackface. Now, this is where it gets dicey for us. Afro wig is used, large red lips, and golden hoop earrings.
Right, so clearly representing a slave or someone from what they perceive to be Africa.
Correct. So,
but the real main reason, get to the real main reason of what the Zwarte Piet does.
Well, bring joy, bring joy for the Christmas season. It's the spirit of Christmas, basically. And it's depicted in what we all know here in the United States as Santa Claus, and what Santa Claus represents, right, to children. And, the fact of gift giving. Parents, buy gifts, they, put it under this name of Santa Claus, and Santa Claus brings Christmas joy and cheer to all,
has
right?
helpers as well that we call elves.
Yes, elves.
Yes.
But I think our problem with it, and the problem with most people of color and Black people individually, is how does the Afro wig, the red lips, and the hoop earrings come into play?
And the black face,
and the black, and on top, the black face. Why is that so significant?
Yeah, so that leads to the point of where my friend, who knows another friend, because everybody knows somebody, who actually plays Santa Claus during this tradition. His name is Ren. And he gets into full character. And, let's hear what he says the tradition stands for.
First of all, I want to make clear that it is a holiday when we go, like with every fairy tale, there is a moment when Sinterklaas, Saint Nicholas, enters the room, and there are, no matter what, if there is in a house with only like some families gathering together with 10 children and families, or a school with 300 children, this is a moment of fairy tale, even if it's only 1 hour, when everybody forgetting everything and we just dive into fantasy, and it's just about sharing this beautiful moment of happiness and love.
Well, so the question that I kept asking myself was, how do we navigate something that we see as wildly offensive in our culture as people of color, as Black people in America, and they don't find it offensive, or a lot of them do not. It's just something that they do. So how do we navigate that? That's like there's this wide gap.
This is the controversy that it's not only just the actual event is an issue, because for me, I didn't know how I was going to take it when I met this guy to do interviews and talk with him and stuff like this. And he explained it to me. When he explained it to me, it made sense. He said, like you said, Benef, it's the helper who goes down the chimney, not Santa Claus, but the helper is the one that actually goes down the chimney. From the chimney, it makes sense. From the chimney, they get obviously the soot from the chimney, so you get like the black face or dust.
I know. Face. Yes.
Yeah, however, I tried to be cordial, and I'm like, well, if you're gonna get dust on your face, why is it all black? Because when you go and get dust on your face, your whole face don't turn black, and you don't get red lips.
And what about the clothing? The
clothes, the clothes is all perfect, and there's no
you don't
dirt
get
or anything.
Red lips.
Yeah,
for a wig.
I was starting
the last
to get
time
a
I
little.
checked, earrings.
Yeah, so I think that is just a load of BS, because they are representing slaves. It's from that time when they had slaves, and they were trying to depict the slaves as happy people helping Santa, because everybody
they didn't
wants a
say that
happy
in their
slave.
definition. They never said that in their definition. Of course not. But however, as you know, that part of the country started to get more culturally diverse, it started to become like, wait, this is not tolerable. However, that's one piece of it, but I see it almost every day, even when I lived in Germany, or not this particular thing, but just things that are in America we know would be, racially charged or insensitive. Like there are people, guys, that are still referring to, for example, Black people as, color, or colored, excuse me. And that's obviously incorrect statement to call somebody. I can't tell you how many times I've run into people in Europe, but they think we're too sensitive or whatever, but they don't understand the ramification of all this and the race issue. And even when I was speaking with my with the interviewer who plays Santa Claus and tells me about it and the tradition, and he's been doing, like, his father started doing it, or his grandfather started to do this. So it's a long lineage for him. His grandfather, his father did it, is now him. And like you said, Trisha, they go give gifts, they do all this other stuff. And you'll see throughout this whole podcast with a lot of what it looks like and what is going on and what newscasters and protests have been about. I tried so hard to get, interviews of people of color, but I couldn't.
Right.
However,
did you just not see any people there? Or
well, I did.
Or no,
obviously,
they don't want to be.
There are people of color that was there, but there was no, unfortunately, the big deal of it was the day of, and the day of was like November 17th, when Santa Claus actually arrived.
Right.
That's when you see the people with the black face. And the tradition, my understanding now, is that the younger folks, or the Generation X to younger, are really trying to change this mentality, because it makes no sense. in this day and age. But the older generation wants to continue to keep this painting of the blackface, and it is completely, in my view, very offensive, very insulting.
Well, yes, and
In this day and age. But the older generation wants to continue to keep this painting of the blackface, and it is completely, in my view, very offensive, very insulting.
Well, yes, and I want us to. I kind of want us to.
I'm getting angry right now. I'm sorry.
To the crux of that, though, because it's very similar to a situation here. Do you remember when, during COVID, when was it during COVID? It must have been during COVID when, all of a sudden we say, the pulling, even I guess previous to COVID, and of course I'm sure this was ushered in due to the presidency that we had, but everyone started pulling down, talking about the Confederate flag, started talking about pulling down all the monuments and different things at the different campuses and, public buildings that we have here in the United States and that sort of thing. And then it kind of trickled over into now we have to change the box of Uncle Ben's, and now we have to change Aunt Jemima and all of these other things. Oddly enough, we had white friends here saying that how can they change that? It's tradition. Well, it's the same definition that Ren was telling us that it primarily was the older generation that is wanting to keep this because out of tradition. It's a tradition. And I get that it may be their tradition, but for some reason there seems to be a disconnect between tradition and an actual person and how that could be offensive.
Yeah, it's not that it's their tradition. It's just that it's tradition from when it started. We got all that.
But that's what I'm trying to say. That what they're saying. But I'm saying their tradition because it's their tradition.
Yeah,
it's not ours.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to own that, and I don't think anyone that's Black should own that. It's certainly part of our history being a slave, but we don't have to own them or condone them.
But let's be clear,
so they can celebrate a holiday, right?
Right. So let's be clear. It's not that, and I want to, because I want to make sure that I'm not making it sound like we're just bashing their culture or their tradition. But let's be clear.
We're trying to understand it.
Yeah.
We're trying to understand. Yeah.
Absolutely. The people in Belgium or Flemish area, Belgium and the Netherlands, are not wanting to get rid of the tradition. What they're saying is we can still have the tradition, which I agree. You still can have the tradition. You just don't need to be painting your goddamn face fully black and wearing red lipstick and stuff like this. That's what the problem is. And I think that's what people, at least I only can talk for myself. That's where I feel defense comes in. Being insulted as a person of color.
But the only people of color I met during the holiday of Saint Nicholas were or maybe parents or teachers or children. Everybody is enjoying the holiday and the fantasy of that moment. So at that moment there is no time to discuss. And I can honestly say so far nobody ever approached me to say that they were offended. The only experience I had sometimes was that Black children were just checking on my colleague who plays Zwarte Piet, and we're just like verifying that it's not the same, that like touching his skin, and then maybe sometimes
did you guys try to explain to them maybe?
Oh, they figure out themselves. They just know it from themselves. They touch him and they look like, oh yeah, you're dirty. I'm Black for my own, but you're dirty. And we don't have to explain anything. They figure out themselves. It doesn't need a lot of explanation. So the society is very aware that it's not done anymore. And I think there's still people who are stubborn and old-fashioned. As you know, we just had elections in Belgium, and it wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. It's very right, and the extreme right party is very much alive. And there's those people who are still very stubborn and say, no, this is our tradition, and everything in the universe is changing, but that tradition has to stay, and we are maintaining Black faces. And I'm like, okay, I cannot force you. I cannot tell you how you will do your makeup, but I will do my makeup and from my friends as we think that is correct to do.
Obviously, it does offend me. I'm not gonna sit here.
Obviously.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sit here and act like it doesn't. It does because of what it means.
Yeah.
From years past.
Yeah.
But I think if you're gonna do something like that, and we're gonna tell the story the right way, and somebody's gonna put the blackface on because they're going in, signifying they're going in a chimney, then you should also not come out of the chimney with just a blackface and pristine clothes. Mm-hmm. That should be dirty as well, which would take away from the fact maybe a little bit of the offensiveness of it. Because right now, I know it's you guys' tradition here in Belgium and the Netherlands, but it's just the fact that when outsiders see it, because you guys got to look at that. You have to look at the fact that because you have tourism here. So what I'm saying is, because there's tourism, you might have people that's outside of your country that don't know nothing about the tradition. And now you expect them, just because they're visiting and paying their own money to come to your country, to just suck it up and deal with it. That's basically what I think is being said.
By me?
No, not by you, just in general. Because you said people still do the blackface.
Some do that.
Yeah. So that what they're saying is you can put little smut, kind of like, what I've shown, where you have dust from the chimney, as signifying, but your face is not covered in full dark black makeup.
I don't know, but I don't know if that's even okay either. And the reason why I say that is because it still has a reference to that. I mean, I understand them coming down the chimney, but again, Santa Claus coming down the chimney, but even our Santa Claus doesn't have soot.
No, but remember,
you're right.
Yeah, but remember,
it is
not
possible
only,
to get soot from
soot,
I mean,
exactly.
But I do think
so. Why is there soot not on the outfit? That's what I'm trying to say.
But that's my point. So put it on the outfit.
There's inconsistencies there, and the other thing that I would hope that they don't just discard is sharing the actual history of why this tradition was like that. Like, I don't think they should forget that, because people need to understand that we had slaves and we treated them like this, and we tried to, gaslight the entire population by making everyone think that they were happy.
Yes.
And wanted to be Santa's helper. I mean, and so to show the evolution of their tradition. Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, probably, this costume cost 500 euros, so I don't want to get it dirty.
Yeah, but it's not only, so my understanding when Ren was talking about it too as well, it's not only the black person that's coming down the chimney, it's a whole bunch of Santa's.
Well, now.
Right.
Now it is, yes.
And the only reason why I say I don't have an issue, as well as other people that I've spoken with, my other friend, they have an issue with the whole blackface and stuff like this, because they think, like my friend said, it's just racist and he's white. And I tend to agree that there's some kind of form of racism in that. However, they don't have an issue, and I personally don't have an issue, if it's just you having little black marks here and there, because then you're going to get, reason why I say that, Trisha, is because you're going to get into the sense of, okay, then if the black thing has an issue with it, then why, when we're in the military, we put black marks all over our face? Why in football do we put black marks all over our face? So I'm just saying,
so
you'd
in
be
football,
surprised every people that do
in
that.
football, yeah, that's fine. I can explain the football. The football is to catch sweat.
Yeah, but
And
you've
it
seen
comes in
people
many
put a whole
colors.
bunch of makeup more than on the eyes.
have not. I personally have not seen that. I've only
I
seen
have.
under their eyes.
I have,
And if they
I've done that.
did that, that too shall pass, right? So maybe
it's
now
just
they're
because they
strict.
want to look mean.
And now
they want to look mean.
Yeah, and I get it, but now they have different colors that they come in. They don't.
That would probably be
black.
a rendition of like tribal war paint from.
But that's my point.
The Native Americans.
So we don't. That's my point. So you got to be careful. Of how far do we want to go? But I personally think that the tradition, don't get rid of it. That's not what the community wants. That's not what the country wants. I don't think
that's what we're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, they want, what I'm saying is, I don't have a problem if you're just little dabs of black here and there, I
I
would
do.
see that you're white, but mess up the clothes to show that you're going down the chimney, and there's dust because you do get soot if you're probably going down the
No,
chimney.
not necessary. I don't fall for that.
Well, of
I
course you
don't
do.
because I'm just saying that I don't agree with that. I don't think they should have it
No,
at
it's
all.
fair. It's fair.
There's no reason to depict, you coming down the chimney. The whole purpose of the whole purpose of the celebration is to celebrate the spirit of Christmas. It's to celebrate Christmas. Why does the actual act of coming down the chimney and having a literal implication, knowing that where the history of that comes from?
Why do we
should
have
there
Santa
even be-
Claus come
They're
down the
trying
chimney?
to.
Why-
I
why
mean,
should even-
I think
But
they're
why do we have
covering-
Santa Claus
They are
coming down the
literally
chimney?
trying to do a CYA. They're covering their asses to come up with a plausible explanation for why they were
I
in
get it.
black.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
again, why is it necessary to do that? I'm saying go
Well, let's be clear. In
celebration, go
America,
ahead and
though,
dress.
yeah,
Mhm.
in
Do
America,
that.
but in America, Zwarte Piet or the Santa's helper is not what come down the chimney. In America, it's Santa Claus, a big
Correct.
white guy. Who's
Correct.
to say that Santa Claus is supposed to be white? Do you know what I mean? Like, then you're gonna
I-
get that big controversy.
I never
Well,
said that
was
Santa
Saint
Claus was
Nicholas?
white.
Was that actual?
Well, that's
human
what we
being
were told.
white?
That's what we were taught in
He
school.
was white,
that he was
yeah.
white.
Yeah, but you also forget that Santa Claus was also created by Coca-Cola, which was run by,
I
Well,
don't know who
Santa
created
Claus,
it.
but there was an actual Saint Nicholas.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
an
there was
actual
a
Saint
Saint
Nicholas.
Nicholas. But what I'm trying to say is that has never been my Christmas. I know plenty of people that celebrate, or try to, find a black Santa Claus to take pictures with, or to depict their family and in that within that tradition. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're outwardly celebrating and you know full and well that there's other people and how that can be offensive, then why would you continue to do it? There are plenty
And
of
that
black
is the
people-
question. Do they?
That is the
Do
question.
they care that it might be
Yeah.
offensive to Americans who are not Belgian
Well,
or Flemish?
But then
According
we're
to
going to
your
be
interview with Ren, though, Paul, I have a question to ask. With your interview with Ren, he did say that there is this movement, though, to make this change, right? He even
Yes.
said so himself, and he even said
not
so
to
himself.
not to get rid of it, but to make the change to be a
No,
little
no,
bit
to make the
more-
change, right?
Mhm.
So that they're at least not painting their faces and
Correct.
hands and whatever
Yeah.
else they do.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is that Ren even said so himself that he saw some merit in that, even though
Mhm.
he becomes this. And he now, just for clarification, does Ren actually go full on blackface?
So
No,
he
he's
goes.
Saint
No,
Nicholas.
he is Saint Nicholas. So, but the
Okay.
people who is the helper,
Right,
which
right,
I'm
okay.
glad he does. He does not do or hire helpers
Right.
who paint their face completely dark.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I've
I mean,
shown
and
that in some captures, and you'll see it
Right.
going
Right.
across the screen and stuff like this.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
first of all, hats off to Ren. First of all, for agreeing to do this on camera, knowing that
He's super into
Well,
it, and I
thank you
could
for
see
that.
his passion about it. And it's a family tradition. I get it. And
Right.
and like I said, I don't know how, because I know Benef, when you brought it up, I thought it was a joke, and I was like, ugh. And I'm very sensitive when it comes to,
well,
because
I mean,
living
the
where I've
question,
seen
I
it-
guess I'm still like, because what do
Why?
the people of color that live there think, first of all?
So-
Because our opinion is
Yeah.
not as crucial, really.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we don't live there. It's not our
Yeah.
culture, whatever. We can't go around just totally judging every other country's culture
Yeah.
because we would be continuously
Mhm.
pissed off. I mean, the way that people treat their women, their children. I
Based
mean,
on
human
yeah.
rights, we would never survive. So, like, do they see it as a problem? And I guess he was
Yeah.
saying that yes, there are communities that see it as a problem, which is why they're
Yes.
trying to evolve.
Yes. And
Well,
my
it's
friend,
up-
Go ahead.
Mhm. Well, I
No,
was
no,
just
no.
saying
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
there was I just wanted to mention this other article real quick that although outside of the Al Jazeera, there's a Time magazine article goes more onto the racial aspect of this, so that
Of
you can
course,
get some
yeah.
background. So we'll post both of the links to these articles below in the comment section so that you guys can have an
Mhm.
opportunity to look as well. Definitely, when you comment, you'll have some premise of this, but I know Paul, you were there on the ground, so having that information,
Yeah.
or having that information would be great for our viewers.
Yeah, and I wanted to also add in there that when I spoke with my friend who told me about it, who strictly hate this tradition, period, because
Mhm.
I mean, he's white and he hates it. And every time I ask him about it, he's like, oh, I don't like, I don't celebrate it, so I'm the wrong person to ask about it. However, I've asked him if he knows people of color, and he's asked people of color. And they too have said that it's a stupid tradition. However, they do have Black Saint Nicholas in Belgium, which my friend who plays Saint Nicholas, no, excuse me, my friend's friend who plays Saint Nicholas, who I interviewed, Ren, showed, and you'll see there are Black Saint Nicholas. So there's the weird controversy. Okay, it is whatever, but okay, now you have Black Saint Nicholas. So now the Zwarte Piet, like, how does that work now?
So basically, to put this into perspective, then what we've learned about Blackfeet or Zwarte as described or how it's explained is a holiday tradition that is celebrated by the Dutch uh, between November 17th through December, the first part of December, December 5th, 6th, somewhere
Yeah.
around that area. So,
The
right. So
seventh,
it's
I
a,
think it is the 7th of
okay. So
December.
it's about a
Yeah.
2-3 week celebration. And basically what St. Nicholas does, and along with his helpers, is that they bring gifts and they go far, right? Rural, they do within the city, within the schools, rurally.
This is basically for the kids. It's not for
Right.
adults.
It's not
the
for adults.
kids.
It's strictly for kids.
Yeah.
And so, and this celebration is held to kind of usher in the Christmas season, right?
Yeah.
So what we've learned then in our discussion with Ren, and again, thanking Ren again, is that he does it, and what I found, it's actually quite noble for him.
He educates,
He's educating, he's reaching out to the community, he's giving these experiences to children who may not necessarily have the opportunity to have gifts or have a Christmas. So this was that's what I got from him. I don't want Ren to be vilified. Am I saying that right?
No.
No.
Because I want folks to realize, but he's never himself dressed in blackface.
No, because he's Saint Nicholas.
No, he's Saint
And
Nicholas, so he doesn't.
No, I know. Yeah, I know that. And his helpers, I'm just trying to make this clear, is that his helpers that he hires do not do blackface.
No, I mean, it's just really.
Well, his
Go ahead.
helpers do have a blackface, but it's smudged.
But they may
Yeah.
have a
It's a
smudge. They may have a
And
smudge.
that bothers me that it was specifically targeted for kids, this tradition of
Yes.
how can we make the kids, why the slaves are happy, so they want to give gifts. Like, I just really take issue with that.
The issue I have with that, like you, Benef, is the fact that I just want them to make sure that they educate them the right way.
Correct.
I think what they're doing is they're educating them based on what you read, Trisha, on the history.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what needs to happen is they need to educate and let folks know that the meaning of the blackface and why it's not considered racist. However, you don't need to have a full-on black face. That depicts what we have been struggling with in different parts of the world. However, they being Europeans, think Americans are too sensitive when it comes to the race issue.
Yes, they do. That I agree.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
No, I disagree with you too, but I'm saying, yes, I do agree with the fact that that's how their thinking is. Yes.
And it's unfortunate, but I think what we need to do, and I try to do it every time someone says that to me, is to educate them why we feel more sensitive about it than any other country. Because remember, we are a melting pot before Europeans became a melting pot. So we are impacted more about it because they are the ones that started it and pushed it out to us in all intents and purposes.
So where do we go from here? So where do, in our opinion, where do we feel?
Well, I'll tell you where not to go is to go to Google and search images of Black Peaks. I'm just getting pissed off here.
Yeah, that's what the problem is.
Yeah, that part.
But I urge people
past that. Once you get past that.
No, Benef. I urge people to go and Google what it is and see what the tradition looks like. And then I urge them to look at the news.
See some of the, you're going to see some of the, we're going to have some of the pictures here. Also, I'm sure within our video we've had, I'm hoping that that's what we're going to do. We're going to put some of these things that we have. It's a little jarring.
But you'll see the difference of what it is in certain parts of the of that area that
Mhm.
traditionally do this celebration. But then you're gonna, there's protests, like I said, to combat this issue. And they're saying you can do away, like I've said, with the full-on black paint and just make it,
Yeah.
little dust here and there, and that's it. I won't have an issue with that because no one is using the N-word. No one is using,
Yeah.
it represents a slave and all this other stuff. We know what it is, but you don't need the red lip. It's just common sense.
This has
God.
been an awesome topic. I actually could
Yeah.
not wait to discuss this. So this has been first of all enlightening because of all the research that we've done and getting to meet great people like Ren, that are interested in bettering their community. So in what they do, but more importantly, I think for us too, just our perception and growth and and this whole thing and that, yes, when we do travel, you're gonna come upon these things. So the best answer is to educate yourself in what it is. Yes, be mad for a minute, do your research, and then move forward and how you can still enjoy the community and the country that you're in without having this lasting impression. So I think that's the takeaway.
Rhythm is wrong.